thousands today, but what a squad. I mean, at times, of course, Ryan Clark, Dan Orlovsky, and Stephen A. holding it down. Let's turn to the NFL, because when the Browns decided to trade Joe Flacco to the Bengals, most assumed that it would clear the path for Shedeur Sanders to be the team's backup QB moving forward. But nope, head coach Kevin Stefanski was not ready to make that commitment to the rookie, and he remains undecided between Shedeur and practice squad QB Bailey Zappi.
Joe trade took us by surprise. That was not something that we saw coming. You know, they called us, and that's it happened very fast and happened not too long ago. So still working through all roster type of things. Young players, I'm always thinking about last week making the change to Dylan. You have to think long and hard about that, because these are young players that you're so invested in their development. So I'll let the week play out and make a decision later on that.
Yeah, I imagine that Stefanski has a long list of things he's got to think long and hard about over there with that squad. But this not knowing the backup QB, is that fair or foul, Stephen A., for Stefanski?
I think it's a little foul to me. You know, I'm deferring to three exceptional NFL minds, and I know that. But just giving my opinion, you know, you ever heard of the smell test, that something just don't smell right? Mm-hmm. That's just how I feel. Like, you know, when Joe Flacco got demoted, y'all, I was like, okay, you know, he should be the QB3, because why would you bench him and then leave him as the QB2 when you're elevating Dylan Gabriel to the QB1 and Shedeur Sanders is right there starving and waiting for an opportunity? So I looked at it like that, and I just said to myself, okay, but that's how it goes. You know, Joe Flacco's a veteran. You know, Kevin Stefanski, you know, knows what he's doing as a coach, etc. But then something like this happens. We're supposed to sit here and believe that Bailey Zappi is a guy that's the QB2 on this squad. Really, that's what we're doing now. I just find that to be a bit fishy. And so, you know, Dylan Gabriel obviously is your QB1. He's a guy that has earned the opportunity to do that. Mina pointed out last week, accurately so. He had a better performance in the preseason than Shedeur Sanders did. I get that part. Shedeur Sanders played well, albeit against Carolina. Obviously, another game in the preseason, not so much. And I get that part too. And of course, I get the fact that he's practicing with the team every day, so the coach knows. I'm just finding it hard to believe that it's so difficult to name him a QB2, especially when you say you're so invested in the kid's development. Well, Dylan Gabriel, even though he's played far significantly more in college, like 64 games in college over a 6-year period, I get that part. But still in all, I don't like how this feels. I just don't.
Well, one, let's see what he says. Like, let's see once they declare who the number 2 quarterback is going to be, who that actually is. Stephen A., when you say it doesn't smell right, in what regard? That would be my question, because are you saying it doesn't smell right because he's not naming Shedeur, or that he's not naming anybody? I think the second thing is this, like, if he doesn't name it, go ahead.
Okay. No, I thought you was asking me a question. I'm sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you. I just thought you was asking me a question. My answer to you would simply be this. If you're telling me that how Kevin Stefanski is handling this situation as it pertains to a QB2 or QB3 is normal, I will defer to y'all. I will tell you that it seems to be an aberration more so than a normal situation for me.
I don't find it that abnormal. There's a lot of change going on at that position. There's a lot of change going on in this roster. They just made a trade last night at like 10 o'clock at night. So there seems to be a lot of moving parts with the football team. My overall takeaway is this. I honestly don't think it's that big a deal. We got to give him the opportunity to actually declare who the number 2 is going to be. If it's not Shedeur, do I find that disappointing? Yes. Do I find that odd? Yes. Would I be?
Shedeur Sanders literally was speechless after Browns named Dylan Gabriel starting quarterback over him originally, posted on First Sports by Ishan Mishra, last updated October 2nd, 2025 for 08 a.m. ET New. Yard Barker on MS and MSN. Are you a Windows user? Follow Yard Barker on MSN To get our exclusive content in your Microsoft News feed, Shedeur Sanders' unique method of protest in the aftermath of Rex Ryan's criticism regarding his attitude became the hot topic on social media. Sanders refused to answer questions about the Cleveland Browns picking Joe Flacco as the backup quarterback to Dillon Gabriel over him. Earlier this week, the Browns decided to give rookie Gabriel the starting quarterback mantle by demoting Flacco to the bench after the team started the season 1-3 with defeats against the Bengals, Ravens, and Lions. However, Sanders stayed QB3 when reporters tried to elicit a reaction from Sanders. The 23-year-old mimicked his answers. A video shared by SI Spencer German documented the moment. ESPN's Adam Schefter speculated that Sanders' behavior could be the result of Rex Ryan calling the Colorado graduate out on Monday's edition of Get Up. "This kid, Shedeur Sanders, talks, and he runs his mouth. I can be a starting quarterback with his arms crossed like this. Get your A in the front row and study and do all that. If I know, the whole league knows. Quit being an embarrassment that way. You've got the talent to be the quarterback. You should be. You should be embarrassed that you're not the quarterback now," Rex Ryan said. HT/Fox News. Despite shocking the Green Bay Packers in Week 3 with a late win, questions were raised about Flacco. Fans wanted the front office to follow the Giants' example and replace the veteran with one of the newcomers. Sanders threw his name in the hat, but his statement rubbed people the wrong way. "I know if you see the quarterback play in the league right now, I know I'm capable of doing better than that," Sanders said. Head coach Kevin Stefanski's diplomatic reaction failed to satisfy the fan base. Despite praising the fifth-round rookie's work ethic, Stefanski stuck with Flacco in Week 4. The 40-year-old Pro Bowl quarterback threw multiple interceptions and ended the Lions fixture with an abysmal 48.36 quarterback rating. Stefanski benched Flacco in favor of Gabriel. Stephen A. Smith questioned Kevin Stefanski's decision to keep Shedeur Sanders as QB3. One of the leading names to question Stefanski's decision to name Flacco as Gabriel's backup and Sanders as QB3 is Stephen A. Smith. If Cleveland is comfortable with the youth revolution, then they could have promoted Sanders ahead of Flacco. I don't understand why you can't put Shedeur as your QB2. Personally, I don't get that part. And here's why I'm saying that. Flacco knows father time has caught up with him. He's not what he used to be, Stephen A. Smith said on his YouTube channel. The Browns knew that Flacco was never the long-term answer, and his prime years are behind him. Flacco's there as a security blanket to some degree. He's not what he was just a couple of years ago, when Deshaun Watson went down, and he got the Cleveland Browns to the postseason before they lost to the Houston Texans. Smith added Flacco's presence on the roster is justified because he brings tons of experience and leadership. However, Smith doesn't view the Super Bowl winner as the future of the franchise. If so, then it made very little sense to stick with him as the backup quarterback as opposed to Sanders. Smith predicted that Sanders would eventually see first-team football late in the season. If Dillon Gabriel played lights out, it would be different. But because I don't see that happening, I think around Week 12, Week 13, we can expect to see Shedeur Sanders. Smith said the Browns drafted Sanders 144th overall, 2 rounds after taking Gabriel. Sanders made his Browns debut in a preseason win over the Carolina Panthers, throwing 2 touchdowns. This article first appeared on First Sports and was syndicated with permission. New. Yard Barker on MSN. Are you a Windows user? Follow Yard Barker on MSN to get our exclusive content in your Microsoft News feed. More must-reads. Did Pete Carroll take jab at Chip Kelly? Lions appear destined to make huge Aiden Hutchinson move. The most NFL QB2 rushing TD games quiz promoted content. Leading female esports players worldwide. Brainberries rub turmeric powder onto the problem areas to remove facial hair. Her beauty. 9 iconic roles nobody wanted to play Brainberries in. You thought your house was bug-free. Brainberries. We list the top airlines with the most attractive air hostess Brainberries. If you haven't given it a watch, you should check it out. As SAP Brainberry. Yesterday's BS to Lions appear destined to make huge Aiden Hutchinson move. NFL Lions appear destined to make huge Aiden Hutchinson move. Browns latest trade raises more questions about GM Andrew Berry's decision-making. NFL Browns latest trade raises more questions about GM Andrew the active 4 passing TD NFL game leaders quiz NFL. Quiz the active 4 passing TD NFL game leaders quiz Brainberries man. Buys a $2 flea market photo, then realizes its true value. Randall Cobb admits truth about Packers' treatment of stars. NFL Randall Cobb admits truth about Packers' treatment of stars. The NFL is a business. As such, all teams, including the Green Bay Packers, are always going to be in a position to make tough decisions on players, especially those who have become so embedded in the culture of the franchise. Moving on from the likes of Aaron Rodgers, Charles Woodson, and Randall Cobb was not easy to process for Green Bay, but the organization felt it was in the best interest of the team to do so. Randall Cobb addresses Packers' philosophy regarding veteran players. Cobb, who played a decade for the Packers, recently appeared on the Glory Days podcast to talk about Green Bay parting ways with declining stars with the team's future in mind. Here's what Cobb said: "Hat tip Packers base. It gets to a certain point where the Packers are going to move on from you. They're consistently doing it, but they do it to make the team better. You gotta have respect for that, because at least they are consistent with the decisions that they make. If you look at the roster right now, they got all the pieces on paper. I look forward to seeing how they progress this season." Cobb will always be remembered as a Packer who gave Green Bay fans several great moments during his time in Titletown. In 10 seasons in Green Bay colors, Cobb collected 6,316 receiving yards and 47 touchdowns on 532 receptions and 764 targets across 130 games. Eagles receive good and bad injury news ahead of matchup with Giants. NFL Eagles receive good and bad injury news ahead of matchup with Giants 20 A-listers who had odd jobs before becoming super famous 20 A-listers who had odd jobs before.